session, we're looking here at the routes. We're looking at the ways in which firms have approached North Shoring. And there are four core routes that we are going to be hearing from, and we're going to hear from people who have actually experienced those routes and talking a little bit about what were they, why did they do it, what's happened, and what some of the lessons they've learned. So hopefully that's interesting and helpful. The first one, we'll be looking at new offices in the north. The second one, sharing work between north and south offices of the same firm. The third, partnering between independent firms, and the last one looking at virtual firms or firms hiring for those based in the north, so more sort of talent agenda, if you like. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce the presenters for each of the sessions, and there are four, sorry, each of these segments, there are four people involved. So I will introduce the two presenters for each of them, and then I will come back and then give you an introduction to the next one, because if I do all of them now, I'm sure you won't remember who they are. We're not going to be going through the biographical details because they would all be on the invite that you received. So we'll be really going straight in with the issues. Now, each of these presentations is very short. They're 5 minutes, and that's quite deliberate because we think that that will really help distill some of the key issues. And as we start building up that knowledge, then as we come to the panel session later on this afternoon, then hopefully a lot of those elements will suddenly start to feel a lot more meaningful to you, I suspect. So I'd like to start off now by inviting Mark Grayson and Neville Eisenberg to the stage. And what they're going to be talking about is how you actually go about setting up an office, which, as we've heard, took place in 2014, so very much one of the pioneers. Mark is the COO of the local office in Manchester, and Neville Eisenberg was the managing partner at the time that was set up, so has that amazing perspective. So I shall now leave you in peace, and gentlemen, you have 5 minutes. Enjoy.
Thanks very much, Richard. Hello, everybody. I'm Neville Eisenberg, and I'm going to speak for a few minutes about the strategic reasons that we decided to set up in Manchester, and then Mark will follow me with some of the practical hurdles and considerations of setting up and running the office that we have in Manchester. So I think the first main reason why we thought it would be a good idea to set up in Manchester is because we had a view, going back quite a number of years, that the future of legal services would involve law being practiced in a different way, increased importance of process improvement, increased reliance on technology, and other aspects like project management. And we wanted to create a center of excellence for delivering legal services in a different way, incubating ideas, experimenting, if you like, but also doing things at scale. And that leads me to the second reason, which is that our Manchester office is set up as a very high leverage model. Mark will speak about this in a little bit more detail, but we have minimal partner involvement. This is obviously a different model from the rest of our firm, and it was something that we were very keen to explore and also deliver in practice. Third reason was client demand. Clients were seeking cheaper, faster, and better outcomes for certain types of legal work, which is typically capable of being standardized, often high volume, and the Manchester office is set up to deliver these outcomes for our clients. I think the next reason I wanted to mention is that we felt that having a separate office with the right structure and business model designed for managed legal services would be easier to scale over time if it was separate from our traditional operations in other offices. And I believe that's proved to be the case over the last few years. And the final consideration that I thought I'd quickly mention is that we did think about setting this up in offshore locations, but really for practical reasons, easier access from our big office in London, and also for quality reasons, we felt it would be easier to manage the quality of these services if they were onshore. We decided that an onshore operation was best. Right, so I'm now going to hand over to Mark.
Thank you, Neville. So I'm just going to cover off some of the factors that we feel have been key to getting the office off the ground and up and running in a successful way. First of all, career paths. We've worked really hard at creating career paths that reflect but the type of work that we have coming in, and also the culture we wanted to build in the office. So we have an award-winning apprenticeship scheme, which is school leavers join us and work on a 6 to 7 year program to qualify as lawyers, and that's promoted really good breadth and depth of talent and retention. We were also very keen to develop career paths that allowed women lawyers returning to work after a career break. So we've made sure that we built roles that have very much flexible working arrangements and working from home before it became fashionable this year. A second factor that we had to consider was in relation to client contact. So we were very keen, basically, for people in Manchester to be in direct contact with, working with clients on a day-to-day basis, rather than being a back office, behind the scenes office. So from apprentices through to senior lawyers, all of our legal staff have interaction on a day-to-day basis with our clients. Thirdly, we accepted when we joined the Manchester community that we would have to work hard at establishing ourselves within Manchester, not because we wanted to compete with local firms in relation to work, but because from an employee perspective, we felt it's really important that our employees feel part of the local market and that they get a chance to interact with their peers and get recognition. And then finally, building a new office, which was there to work with teams across the firm, meant that it was really key that we had a platform that was collaborative in nature. So teams from day one have been very used to working virtually, working cross-team. So if necessary, getting on the train. And I guess that's the final point I wanted to make, which for us, a key reason for choosing Manchester was location practicality. There are 3 trains an hour to and from London, and we have a fantastic graduate population in Manchester as well.
Mark, I'd like to welcome Paul Eagland, who is the managing partner, national managing partner of BDO, which, as many of you will know, is a very top 10 accountancy firm. And I'm told from his bio that he can solve a Rubik's Cube in 2 minutes. Now, whether he can tell us everything we need to know about sharing work across offices in 5 minutes, I'm not sure. But over to you. And I love the Christmas tree in the background. But thank you, Paul. You are, I think, really, as I said, mentioned, really going to look at, and this is Mark Sykes, who's in the audience, and he and I came up with this idea in many ways, is how can you actually share work between North and South in a way that works for both and for clients?
So the BDO story is not dissimilar, actually, from Neville and Mark's story, but let me just give you a little bit of context, because it's probably helpful to appreciate and understand that we have experimented offshoring, nearshoring, onshoring, and north shoring over many, many years, because of course BDO is part of BDO International, and we're in 160 odd countries. So we've used BDO services in India, Mauritius, and then more nearshoring in Ireland. But over the years, we've, as I'd imagine all other businesses, we've constantly evaluated all of the ingredients that we need to be at play to make sure that we end up with our offices in the right location. So when we then come back to the UK, we're already in 17 offices, including Manchester and Leeds, etc. But the story I want to tell you about and share is about our Liverpool experience. And so off of the back of our experience of taking some of the service lines that we need to deliver to our clients and working out whether we can deal with those on offshore, etc. We've taken a number of key items into account. So I'll go through 4 areas, which are the financial dynamics, the business environment, the business model that we're using, and then I'd say the people and the cultural fit. which is definitely for me the most important one. But I'll deal with the easy one first, being an accountant, which is all about the money and financial dynamics. The key message I would leave you with, our experience condensed into a minute, would be the cost of production for the type of activity that we have now successfully placed in our Liverpool service office is, in London, providing that type of service would effectively cost roughly £50 per hour. Every hour of work would be £50 cost to us. When we look at the experience of offshoring, it kind of started around £15 per hour, and it's crept quite quickly up to about £25 per hour. So even when you go to India, Mauritius, etc., that's the kind of price we pay. And when we come into the north, we think that the north can compete and actually very, very well against anything others around the world can offer. And I'm very serious about that. So if you just want to look at the financial dynamics, and other people might argue. And then, of course, when you look at the real estate cost in Liverpool, I would say that we're operating at probably 1/20th of the price of London real estate that's comparable. So financial dynamics obviously are in favor of North Shoring. That's fine. Then the next item is the business environment. So of course, not dissimilar to what Neville and Mark were saying, we look at the communication links, the real estate, the talent pool, the fact that the universities and the schools in Liverpool are generating such great talent. That was a major attraction for us. And then actually the links and the accessibility of liaising with local authorities to explain to them what we were planning, and therefore their receptiveness to helping us create an office, which is now 300 people actually. Then there's our own business model. So this is the third element, which makes sure that we're crystal clear, again, very much in line with what Mark and Neville were saying about carving out the right type of activity so that it's in the right part of our business. And we've now got 300 people in Liverpool, and they provide the rest of BDO UK, which is 6,000 people, with up to 50 different service offerings, whether that's tax returns, accounting, client take on, and you name them, 50 individual things. And the capability of the team in Liverpool to be able to produce that, and this is the key point, that the people in the other offices, whether it's in London, Southampton, Reading, to want to pass that work and require that service and receive that service from Liverpool, it was really key that we built a confident link between the two, between the receiver and the provider. And then I'll finish with the cultural fit. And this has really worked well for us, that to find a city and a location where we can create a team who have the exact same cultural leanings and preferences and orientations to the rest of the UK BDO was absolutely essential. And the ability and the desire of that team to want to train, develop, so that we then provide those services in an internal friendly market has just been fabulous. So overall, we've had a fantastic experience, and happy to share that with anyone who would like to hear more. So Richard, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. And your timing was magic, so appreciate that. And I know you've got to leave us now for another meeting, but thank you very much for sharing that with us. And I'd now like to welcome Robert and Mike. And Robert and Mike work for independent firms. Robert is an executive partner in Kites, and Mike is the managing partner of Blake Morgan. And because when we were looking at the whole area of North Shoring, we thought, well, yes, there's the obvious bricks and mortar, which is essentially what we were talking about with the BCLP. And then the second one was then looking at how you might share work within the network, within a particular firm, which is BDO example, and how both sides have to want to pass it and to work on it. But then when you're coming to two independent firms, and again, there's there's write-ups on both our presenters in the world, then actually it's a very different sort of relationship, but it can be very effective because it's in a way less around price and more around capability. So I'm not quite sure how you gentlemen are going to share it, but I will look forward to hearing your words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and thank you, Paul. Kites is a full-service commercial law firm based in Manchester. We have a total headcount of around 190. We're very proud of being a Manchester firm, and for many of the reasons that the previous speakers have mentioned, we have no intention of opening up offices elsewhere in the UK. However, our entire philosophy revolves around servicing the needs of our clients, like many of the people I'm sure in this room. And we have clients all over the UK, and so it's essential we have strong relationships with like-minded firms in other regions to service those clients' full needs. One of those relationships is with Blake Morgan in the Southeast.
Yes, Rob, thanks for that. And can I just say also to you, Richard, thanks very much for the opportunity to talk today. It would be fair to say that we are in the south predominantly, a firm of just over 800 partners and employees, based also in Cardiff, Oxford and London. The reason why I was keen to come along here today is the behest really of Rob. We have worked well for a good 12 to 13 years in what I would describe as a very collegiate way without being any formal kind of arrangement. It would be fair to say that we found ourselves across a crowded room, as I recall, Rob, many years ago in one of the international law conferences run by TAG Alliance. And we got on very well with those shared values as we discussed them across a bar, as I recall, enjoying a glass of orange juice, etc., and talking about a quality service and indeed how we can work together collaboratively. And so, Rob, I think you're going to tell me how that all works and how it all came together.
Well,
and then, flip back to me.
Yes, I mean, we've worked together advising clients where there's a regional dimension or where either firm has a specialism that the other can tap into. But even where we have mutual specialisms, we share knowledge, we share second opinions, and that extends to best practices and practice management matters.
Thank you for that. And so results, well, actually it works for both of us. We have mutual clients now. They need advice outside of what you would call your patch, if we would call Manchester a patch. And of course we have the specialisms. Sometimes we can swap. Some we have, some you don't, and ditto likewise. And that's how it kind of works with a seamless service around that. And then we kind of, how can I put it, buddy up or chat. Our marketing team work together. Others in your firm work with us. We work with you. And we sort of develop thought leadership and ideas and challenges through that. And it has worked very well so far.
And for us, I think it's fair to say it's not about north shoring or south shoring. We both recognize that the M6 has two carriageways. It's about working with another like-minded firm, not as competitors, but to create opportunities together in a spirit of openness and trust. It's not driven by cost. It's driven by a determination to maximize the benefit to clients in terms of service. The hard work for us was identifying a firm that truly reflected the same values and focus that we felt we had. After that, the opportunities came very easily.
Well, thank you very much, Robert and Mike. And again, I think there's lots of firms who maybe you meet in the bar. I don't know, at a TAG gig, but you know, at the end of the day, I think that shows how often the chance encounter leads to a long-term relationship for mutual benefit of the firms and also for their clients, I think, and that's really important. So thank you both. We're now moving on to the fourth of our case studies, and this one's a little bit different because I've invited Dana Dennis-Smith, who is the founder and CEO of Obelisk Support, which, as some of you will know, is a I'll use the word a virtual firm. She'll probably say that's not the case, but most of the people who work for Obelisk are not working in traditional offices, but there is a central coordination team. And I also want to invite Lucy McClory, who is works for her own business, Fractal Legal, but is also a consultant within the Obelisk. So if you like, Dana, who actually started and runs the whole business, and then one of the people who is in the network of people who are organized by Obelisk. So please join the stage, Dana and Lisa, and tell us about how you go about what we call Case 4, which, if you recall, was really where Southern or virtual firms are hiring professionals based in the north, but now with the virtual workplaces that we have, maybe the traditional catchment areas have shifted for everybody. So this is a general lesson that's relevant to all of us. So really looking forward to what you have to say.
I'll start by talking from, why we set up this business. And really, I mean, it was very interesting to hear the motivations before. Our motivation beginning to remove geography as a barrier to working and create new opportunities based on the job to be done and the alignment to the skills. So it wasn't about finding regional talent as much as finding opportunities for people wherever they may be. So if you like a kind of global business, but with very local solutions. And we found that the talent was incredible across the country. And because we were quite London-centric, I think, in terms of how our client base, FTSE 100 companies, very large enterprise clients tend to take contracts, for example, people working ad hoc for them. They tend to be in. We wanted to democratize the way these jobs got into the country, so that people that maybe otherwise wouldn't have these opportunities can also work with our client base. And I thought one way in which we leverage productivity, but also talent across the UK, not just being London-centric. Of our approach is that it reactivated a lot of talent. So a lot of people that maybe weren't working as much as they should have suddenly re-entered the legal market. We were very, very focused on returning women to the legal profession and connected to the profession they trained so hard to be part of, and also delivering savings, because as you quite rightly said, we did not create regional offices. We created technology to be able to reach as far as possible within the country, and in fact globally, to be able to serve our consultant base and create a very quick dialogue around, is this the kind of please let us know quickly, them very quickly to the job, so that the client wins because they get the work done very quickly. The lawyer wins because they get to use capacity if they have availability, and we win because we would have made a perfect match. So our model has always been win-win-win, but not around leveraging on lower costs, very much really what the client needs with what the lawyer needs, and creating a winning formula. Over to Lisa, maybe she disagrees.
No, thank you very much for the opportunity to come along and speak. I think for me, the best thing has been the opportunity to carry on working on really, really high quality jobs whilst being based anywhere in the country. Obviously, that's become a really topical thing now with the shift increasingly to digital working. Obelisk have been providing the opportunity since before everything happened with the pandemic. And I guess, for me, there are a few learnings about how to do that really well. I think having worked as a consultant, project management becomes much more important. Having a tech platform, as Dana says, and having all of the infrastructure set up, because you can't just pop into the office next door and ask people's advice. You need to have knowledge management resources, so investment in that infrastructure becomes quite key. I think also in terms of project management, having an agile workflow process, and that the sort of process behind that, not just availability of things like Planner and Trello, but the team working cohesively in that way really helps to increase efficiency. Personal attributes as well. It can be challenging to build relationships when working over a distance, particularly when some of the team are working on site and other members of the team are working remotely. So I think as everybody shifts back to perhaps slightly different working model, where some people might be on site and other people working more remotely, that challenge is something to really focus on and to think about. But in general, I think as there's more access to a wider pool of talent, and as geographical boundaries come down, I think it's really exciting to see how the market for legal services will evolve to benefit, both law firms and with access to more talent and people who want to focus on the job and get more opportunities.